Welcome, those guys sports. It's your boy Mike. This is my weekly Raptors conversation, and it's crazy with your weekly Raptors conversation. There's nothing to talk about. Like I have an NBA weekly podcast that I do as well, and you're just picking at straws. Like you're almost praying that somebody has some outlandish take, like Paul Pierce having an outlandish take about him and Dwayne Wade. Oh, if I had Chris Bosh and LeBron, I'll be yeah. That's like what anyone can say. That's like an argument everyone can make. But Dwayne Wade was a better player. But I'll talk about that in my Raptors weekly podcast that most likely is going to be released tomorrow. But today's my Raptors weekly podcast. There's not much to say. There's not much to talk about. And I also plan on making a video about the man behind me, Pascal Siakam, because the one thing we can say, and I think it could be officially dead. No, you can't say anything is officially dead in sports, but the most you can say this is probably like an 80% gone, 80% dead, is that Pascal will be with the team come the beginning of the season, unless the Raptors get a call and it's like we would like to trade for Pascal, but we'll give you like seven of our draft picks, and it's New Orleans, like or it's OKC. We're gonna give you seven of our draft picks. We just realized that if we pair Pascal and Shea, we can become something. Maybe it's a year or two, but it could be something, which it actually could be. A Shea and Pascal like going together, I think can actually be something special. But that's something in the near future. When Shea decides to join the Toronto Raptors, I think it's like 2025. I think he could potentially opt out in 2025. That would be good. But for my Raptors Weekly, before I even continue, make sure you subscribe, follow on all social media platforms, do your thing. Make sure you follow the TikTok as well, because I do try to post as much as I can on that. Once again, when there's no sports to talk about, I think I gotta start doing those like random games. There's that game where the rarity game. I have to start doing stuff like that, or pick like the best starting lineup for a certain team. You know what? That's something I should do. The best starting lineup for that team, or something like that. I'll think of something along those lines. I think I'm going to start doing. But yeah, this Raptors, like I said, it's bored. So I'm going to talk about the starting unit. I'm going to talk about Gary Trent. I'm going to look at the Eastern Conference and say who are the Raptors better at. I think that's what the title of this podcast would be. Who are the Raptors better at? Let me get them NBA standings out as I say this. But yeah, the person I want to talk about first was Gary Trent. Gary Trent Jr., you know, this season, like I think the past couple seasons has been about growth. I love kind of seeing the growth of players. I have been recently thinking, of course, I think about Pascal all the time. Clearly, I'm a Pascal fanatic. There's a guy on Twitter, Pascal Propaganda. I should get him on the podcast. When I think about Pascal and his growth, this guy went from like just an energy guy coming out of college. He's gonna be our energy guy. He's gonna help us to. He actually ended up starting the first season because he had so much energy and kind of what you needed of the team. You wanted him to start over Patrick Patterson, but he was a guy that you're like, oh, he's such an energy guy. Then I think the year following was it the bench mob? I think bench mob was the following year, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, bench mob was 2018. The bench mob was 2018, and he was just so good with the bench with like a Freddie and then Freddie and Pascal and then Hurdle. They were also good with Lon Wright and everyone else. And you're like, okay, this guy is gonna be a really good. Like you're still thinking, okay, he could be a starter, but he's gonna be a really good starter, a nice guy who is gonna play defense. Will never be an all star. You're not thinking Pascal Siakam will ever be an all star. You're thinking he's not gonna be an all star, but he's always gonna be a guy that if you trade, he's gonna get you like a first round pick because of the type of player he is. You think that Pascal is going to be a nice energy player, just like an overall quality player. And I'm thinking much of it. Then he has Kawhi with him, and then has a most improved like season. What I think a lot of people expect, like we expected him to improve because we're like, you know what, a couple shots, maybe we can see something out of him, but we weren't sure if it was going to be him and OG to kind of step up. Then after that year, he kept growing. And I know I'm talking about Gary Trent, but I was just saying, the reason I was thinking about Pascal is because I was thinking about his growth. Then I think about Fred. Fred had the same growth, same path, really. Like bench, well, the man wasn't even drafted. That's one. Two-way contract, gets signed, then gets signed again. And then like he is a quality guy for the Raptors championship, and he hits big shots, all those things, becomes an all-star, like now signs one of the most expensive deals ever. Sorry, podcast. But yeah, so then it leads me to Gary Trent. Where we got Gary Trent from the Portland Trail Blazers at the time where, like they weren't sure his value yet. He got traded at the age of 21, 22, pretty much, because he's good to turn 23, 24, whatever. He's still one of the youngest guys on the squad. And in saying that, Gary Trent Jr. still has so much to grow. We don't know what he's going to become. Like, what is Gary Trent? What is he? What is he? Like, is he Tyler Hero? Tyrese Maxey? We don't know yet. Is he Jordan Clarkson? Some days I do believe that Gary Trent Jr.'s best attribute will be a Jordan Clarkson type player. That's what we've seen. We've seen that player do very well and a type of player that most teams are looking for. I think everybody wants somebody who can score 20 points at any given night. That's Gary Trent. The real question is Gary Trent a starter? Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna make this live. I don't. It got choked up, but that just stopped. But we're gonna keep it on. Is Gary Trent a starter? Yeah, yeah. But is there for this Raptors team? I don't know. You know why I say Gary Trent's a starter? It's because a lot of these teams, you may put Gary Trent as a starter. I'm not gonna go down the list of a lot of teams, but I'll say some. Would Gary potentially start in Orlando? You have Franz, you have Cole Anthony, and Jalen Suggs. He may start in Orlando. Will he start in Minnesota? No. But I'm looking at all the top shooting guard teams. Like he may start for some teams, but for those Raptor teams, he could be our starting shooting guard. So when I mean he's a starter, what can we expect out of him? He can give you the buckets. We've seen him be a really good steals kind of guy. But that's kind of the way the Raptors had played. What do we need to see improve from Gary Trent? Well, I think we need to see more of a playmaking. Can he do more off ball? Will his dribble penetration, can he be a better pick and roll player? Can he be a guy who can hit the mid range and be a not like everyone can kind of hit the mid range, but is he someone who can be a killer at mid range? Be a DeMar, be a Devin Booker, be a Kevin Durant. Of course, these guys are all-star, multiple time all-stars, like all NBA type players. So we're kind of saying a bunch, but can he be someone who you have to always consistently respect? Now he's a guy, like I said, can score 20 points because he's just a bucket getter. He's just a feed me the chicken, I'm a bucket getter. But can he do more? And that's what I'm curious to see. He decided to opt in. I'm thinking the landscape and what was out there wasn't going to be perfect for him. I think that's why he opted in. Yeah, there were some teams with money, but I don't believe a lot of teams had money for him. Where I think this coming season, I think the Spurs still probably have some money. I think OKC may still have something. Houston should not have any money because they could, because some of the people could be coming off their books and they have a lot of young guys. They could have. I think a lot of the young teams still got money to spend. So it's a guy that maybe could be something. He also is a guy that's still on expiring. So the Raptors want to trade him for something. They potentially can as well, because he decided to opt in, but he opted in with the thought process that this guy, he's gonna get the minutes. Because if the Raptors don't make a move, how is he not your starter? You need another shooter. And the Raptors only have OG starting as a shooter who can shoot the threes at above 35% level. So you need someone else who can do it, and that's Gary Trent. Gary Trent is going to be the two guys behind me's best friend, because Gary Trent is going to open up the game for these two guys behind. Because having a Jakob Poeltl hurts your game. I like Yak. I do believe he's great. He's a great defender. He can block shots. He's a good man in the middle. He can get easy buckets when you need. He can be a really good pick and roll player, which is why all of them need to work on the pick and roll game with Poeltl, because Fred excelled with that with the Poeltl. I do think that the best version of the Raptors would have kind of had a Brook Lopez type of center, or a center who can kind of play outside. I think that's what the Raptors needed. I don't think the Raptors needed a guy who can be in the paint 24/7. I think, Les Pirtle can hit 3-point shots, which I don't, that's not in his game at all. It hurts this Raptors team. It's gonna hurt this Raptors team. That's just not what they are at the current state that they're in right now. But for these two guys behind me, Gary Trent's their best friend. Like I said, Gary Trent's the guy that's gonna help them driving kick. That's their driving kick guy. That's the guy that's gonna be in the corner shooting the three. You know, what can we see from Gary Trent? I was never a fan of the Norman Powell trade. Never. I miss Norman. I wish he would come back. Truly speaking, I wish the Clippers can be like, you know what, we need some more size. Hey, Toronto, we'll get Boucher. We'll take, I more and more I don't want to trade that because the Raptors do need a leader, and I'm probably gonna make a Pascal video because the Raptors do need a leader, and I love that, and he's like the vocal leader. He's gonna be the guy to help. He's probably not gonna get any minutes, but I just think what he can provide, especially for a rookie head coach, is something that like every team needs. Um, Now, in saying that, Pascal's going to be the leader, but we're going to need another guard. So I wish like a Norm came. But then you would have Norm, and then you would have Gary Trent. Then there's the rumors about Tyler Hero. And I forgot Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero starting. And Gary Trent comes off the bench. And once again, Gary Trent is if you have a better shooting guard than Gary Trent and comes off the bench, that's really good. The Raptors team could be really good. It could, with the Gary Trent coming off the bench. It could. But with Gary Trent starting, you need so much more out of him. Like you really do. The thing with the points for this team, OG wants to do a lot more different things. I know Scotty wants to as well. You're losing 20 points a game in Fred VanVleet. You're losing 20 points a game. Dennis Schroeder is not giving you 20 points a game. Grady Dick is not giving you 20 points a game. So now you're asking Pascal because Pascal has to at least give you 25. He has to give you 25 a game. Scotty, with no Fred, has to give you about 18 to 20 a game. I'm not predicting stats yet, but that's what we have to give. OG has to give you 20 a game. Which one? Do you have three guys? It can be like kind of like that Miami Heat situation when you had a bunch of guys. But then also Gary has to give you 20 as well. But if he's on this team as a starter, yeah, he's gonna have to give you 20. You need someone to, and mind you, he was giving you like 17, 18 points a game last season. And the one thing with Gary that, if you could just look at with him and without him, Gary's stats with Pascal, much better than his stats without Pascal. Gary and Pascal have a unique two-man duo that, like I said, when you're a player like a Pascal or a Scotty, having a guy like Gary is the best thing that can happen for you. When you have shooters who could just kind of do their thing and kind of run around and whatever, he doesn't do it as good as I wish like Klay Thompson does. I wish he would be a better guy who can, roam around more. When you have that guy, it makes it much easier for you. When you have Pascal, going down in the post, when he's doing one of his moves, then you can have a guy like Gary in the corner. It makes it a lot better. When Gary's hitting shots, it's even better. Because then you got to be honest, and you got to guard Gary. Then you get Pascal one-on-one. And like I said, Pascal's growth, his footwork, is something that should be spoken about a lot more. It's like a beautiful thing to watch when it comes to Pascal. But I think all in all, what I want to see is an evolution of Gary's game. I truly think, and I don't know what this Raptors team is going to be. I'm going to look down the Eastern Conference right now, and I'm going to see who I believe, can beat them and who's better than them. But I do think a most improved like season, and I'm saying it now, I may change my mind later on, but a most improved like season for Gary Trent can be a game changer for this Raptors team. Pascal, I believe, can give me 25. I think Pascal can be 25, 7, and 7. I believe that, and I can walk away believing that. It's Scotty, OG, and Gary. The three young guys, honestly, the three young guys have to all be in the running for most improved. And then that's what you're looking for. Today I'm talking about Gary. Maybe next week I'll talk about OG or Scotty. But that's who we have to see. It's those three young guys that we need to see most improved like seasons. for anything to happen. I'm looking forward to the Scotty point. He may not be playing point the whole time, but I think Scotty's more of a point guard than what Jason Kidd was trying to force Giannis to be. I think Scotty Barnes is more of a point guard than Draymond Green was with Golden State and is sometimes at that point forward. I think that's Scotty's best version of Scotty is a point forward. Just put shooters around him and Pascal. This team is much better. If somehow Precious Achua can shoot like 35, 38% to that range of 3-point shooting, oh, your like closing time unit could be Precious. Because Precious has a good shot. Like last season was bad, but if you kind of looked at that, that end of the year of Precious, you're like, if he can give me that with his quickness and his defense, that closing unit with a Precious, a Pascal, a Scotty, OG, and Gary could be one to talk about, right? I think Pascal, if and I think without a Fred, Pascal's more put in that role now. Like Pascal's the number one guy. Like it's not like a him and Fred can work off each other. No, it's Pascal, you got to do your thing. Scotty has to get you the ball. That's what I want to see Scotty do is get him the ball. But that's where still when those minutes count and when you need a bucket, Gary's your best option. Then who's your two-man game? Who's the new two-man game? Gary and Pascal. I think when those two guys are playing together, I think great things happen. And I think Gary wants to prove that he's a starting shooting guard in this league. Put himself in because I think the new shooting guards, like we have the elites and the Devin Bookers, Donovan Mitchells, Anthony Edwards, and the Jalen Browns. Those are the 4 elite guys. Everyone else, I think, is like the same type of player. Sometimes I like a Tyler Hero because I've seen what he's done in the playoffs, and I think a Tyler Hero and a Gary Trent, I don't see the crazy difference. I don't see the crazy difference in when you add Maxi to it. A certain guy that I don't see the change in that. I think they're all kind of the same type of shooting guard. I also think Gary can kind of play some point when you need. I would love to see him drive to the basket more. That's another thing you want to see Gary do, drive to the basket. He's a guy who he's hit some clutch shots for the Raptors. So I think crunch time could just be Gary time. And I think that's okay. Like the one thing that I've always said for this Raptors team is that this Raptors team just needs a clutch bucket getter. You need a Chris Middleton type. I said it like a couple months ago. Could that be Gary Trent? That's probably giving my whole summer content. Is could Gary Trent become the Chris Middleton to Pascal's Giannis? Yes, this is like not Giannis and Chris Middleton are elite of what they do. But you're hoping that Pascal and Gary can show some flashes, 60-70% of what Middleton and Giannis can do. With hopefully the Raptors could be a better cast than what we have or what they have in Milwaukee. Milwaukee has a pretty good cast. They're title favorites. I'm just saying wishful thinking. That's what you're looking for. Gary Trent to just be something different, do something different than he was in the past, become more of a guy who you believe can get 3 to 4 assists a game because you like he can do multiple things. That's what I would like to see from Gary Trent. I know a lot of people are gonna be a little different. The thought process is gonna be different. That's what I want to see from Gary. Is to be more not the chucker. I don't want to see the chucker Gary. I want to see the Gary that's gonna be like, okay, OG's in the corner, I got him. Well, I got the ball. I'm playing the point for like the next 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna play the point. I got him and then the shooter can play well off each other. I think the way you do the lineups, you have to either have Gary on. If the Raptors team is the same, you got to either have Gary on the court or Pascal on the court because you need someone who consistently get a bucket. So you kind of almost go at Gary with Pirtle and an OG and whoever else is there, and then you go. Maybe you got to go like yeah, you got to go a Barnes, Pascal, Precious, maybe a Boucher, and a Grady Dick, right? That's one unit. Then the next unit would be like OG, Gary, Pirtle, and Dennis Schroeder, and then you just put in a next person there, maybe Grady again, or you put I mentioned Boucher, Jeff Dallin Jr. That'll make him a little smaller. Jeff Dallin's actually like pretty 6'6", like something like that, 6'5". But so he's tall, but something like that. You just I think that would be kind of it, or no matter what, you just got to put, the two guys away from each other. Even though I believe that when they're together, they're the best versions of themselves. But let me move on. I think, I realize how much I do believe in Gary, and I believe that, I think he's a good player. Now, what can he be? Can he be more than a chucker? Can he be more than a potential six-man of the year candidate? I'm hoping to see. And that's what we should all hope as Raptor fans to see. Now, the next thing I want to talk about has to do with the fact that this Raptors team is not changing. All right. So ask yourself, who are the Raptors better than right now? Right now, I'm saying this. This is July, whatever day it is today. Who are the Raptors better than right now? Let's go down the list. I'm gonna go with the standings of last season. Milwaukee, hell no, not better. Even though, but Fred's not in, and there's no more Nick Nurse, so I don't know how I feel about. The Raptors have always, 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 always matched well with Milwaukee. I do believe if the Raptors were eight, they would have lost to Milwaukee, but they always match well with them. I don't know what it is. I think Nick Nurse had Budenholzer's number at the time. This coming season, you have AJ Griffin, or sorry, Adrian Griffin. That's the senior Adrian Griffin. So I'm curious to see how they're going to be like. The Raptors have always played well in Milwaukee, but of course, 7 game series, Milwaukee's winning. And that's how you have to justify this. In a 7 game series, who's the Raptors better than? Who can they beat? Boston, definitely not as well. Boston has had the Raptors numbers for a while now, so I hate watching Boston face the Raptors because I hate the thought of Boston beating the Raptors. But yeah, Boston's a better team. Philadelphia, no, they're not better. Now they lose Harden and they don't replace him with like a guy even like a little notch below Harden. If they don't replace it with that, then we can start talking. Because I think Pirtle, obviously, no one can stop Embiid. Embiid is an all-star player. Can you maintain him? Something we can talk about. That's in basketball, all you really need is to maintain somebody. Really is. Guys, Jordan got his points. Kobe got his points. Shaq definitely got his points. Timmy got his points. Just try to control, maintain. LeBron got his points. Even Kawhi's defense was so great. Iggy's defense was so great. LeBron still averaged like darn near triple doubles. Okay, let's not act like they were just averaging 10 points a game. They did not. So that's all I'm saying. So you just gotta maintain Embiid while everyone guards their man and guards up top and guards Maxi, whatever, like all that stuff. And if they lost Harden, you're easily putting OG on Maxi, and OG's a defensive player of the year candidate year by year. So Cleveland. Yeah, no, the Raptors are not better than Cleveland. I think Cleveland, my early prediction, it's still my prediction that Cleveland will be the number one seed this season. I just think their bench and what they've done, adding guys like Niang, a guy like Max Strus, who's going to be their starter, still having a Karis LeVert coming off the bench, and then see Karis LeVert is like a very good player. Now, I've had a guy that would be happy, but that's like Gary Trent, right? So it's kind of like I think the worst version of Gary Trent is just basically Karis LeVert, which is not a bad player at all. I think he's a very good player. Raptors had him not be very happy. New York, like I think 50. The losing of Fred makes me say New York is probably better. Um, just because their defense is better. I think like if you ask me right now, New York is, and because we lost Fred, that's what if we had Fred and we still got a Dennis Schroeder with a good contract, I think this like Toronto would be better because they would have a better bench. Automatically getting the Dennis Schroeder off the bench would automatically make him better. Like if we kept Fred, all we needed was one guy to make the bench better. And I think Dennis Schroeder would make the bench better. We would have Dennis, Gary, Boucher. We still had Grady Dick, still had Precious Achua. So I still think like that would have been much better if we just had like a backup guard. Honestly, that's all we needed. But right now, I'll give it to New York. So not better than the top five teams in the East. Okay, Brooklyn. I think Raptors are better than Brooklyn. I love, Mikal Bridges. Love that guy. I think Cam Johnson's a good player. I think Thomas is a good player. I think all these guys are good players, but I think Raptors are a better team right now. I think if you're asking who's the better player, it's Pascal's a better player than Mikal Bridges. And we go down the line. I think the Raptors have better players than the Brooklyn Nets. Still, Brooklyn Nets are a pretty good team. Atlanta Hawks, I will always think that they're better than them. That's no question. That's a legit skip. I do not believe in Atlanta. I already made my case. I think Trey Young is a good player, not top 20. I'll leave it there. I think Pascal better than Trey Young. I will always say that a player whose style will always outweigh a player like a Pascal because of the fact that like you just like their game more, which is it's fine. Just saying. Miami, no, Miami lost like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, and did they gain anyone? Like, did they even get better? I don't know if they got better. Did they get better? No, but I'll still give them respect. Miami's better. Chicago. The crazy thing is, Chicago's probably better than Toronto because they have more guys who can score the basket. And I think that matters. And I think Chicago's better. So automatically, I'm saying Toronto won't be a top 16. They don't have that much talent. Now, I'm hoping I'm completely wrong. Once again, if OG, Barnes, and Gary Trent all have spectacular season, it's different. I also think if the Raptors had a bench, it would be different. Like I think the Raptors still need to get like the Raptors need a shooter. Like they need like that one shooter, another guard. I think like we're still kind of too big. I think you got to play Coloco. That young, I don't want to trade. We still got Otto Porter Jr. See, and that's another thing. I keep saying it. I said it to Amit Man. I'm gonna say it to my other podcast guests soon. If we can get like a 37% to 40% Otto Porter, I mean shooting 303, but also get like 45 to 50 games, and I want the latter half of those. Oh, I definitely think this bench is a little different. I think we have a little bit more shooting than people would think. Because we have two guys in Gary and OG who can give us close to 40%. If Barnes or Pascal can give us at least 33 to 30, well, 33 they're doing now. I think it's like 35%. I think this team could be good with a growth of Barnes. I think Barnes is ultimately the ultimate key. I think OG. I think Barnes is the ultimate key. To be honest, I think Gary's the second ultimate key, and OG is the ultimate key. Those three guys. Like I have to go. I think those three guys are like they're the only ones who can really make this team better. I think that's probably my next week podcast about how good those three guys are. Let me go the rest of the list. Indiana. I like Indiana a lot. I think they are missing like they're potentially missing a guard. Like they're a guard away. Some people say they're probably a power forward away. But I think if unless Matherin becomes, Matherin could become that guy. If he becomes that guy, yeah, Indiana's better. I just like him top to bottom. I like him. Toronto's better than Washington. Orlando is the team of the future, and they're the team I would predict like I can see them making it to the playoffs. I think they're a good team. Franz, um, Paulo Banchero, Suggs. Not sure. That's why when I was thinking that Fred was gonna go to Orlando, I'm like, is Fred? Like, can we do a sign and trade? And somehow, weirdly, in this world, get Jalen Suggs. I'll be okay because I'm starting to shoot Jalen Suggs, and then I think the Raptors may they may think about some things because then I'm just down fantasy booking wrestling term, but let's just say and you trade or you have to do a sign trade with Fred to Orlando, get Suggs, then you have to trade Pascal to Portland to get Scoot. Then you have it's like a Scoot, Suggs, and Scotty, the triple S's, triple S's. Then you call New Orleans and you said, hey, give us Herb Jones. Give us there's another guy that they have that I really like. I think Max, forget. But just we'll trade you OG for your draft picks or something. Or we call OKC and be like, give us Dort and like somebody else, and we'll just take all your draft picks. Maybe they'll do it. I don't know. That's just fantasy booking. I don't know why I went that far. Charlotte, Toronto's better than, and Detroit. I think Toronto is better than Detroit. But Detroit's the one team I feel like I say every single year, watch out for them, and they've done nothing. And I keep saying it every year, watch out for them, and they've done nothing. So right now, when I'm looking at it, the Raptors are not better than most of the teams right now. So you have to ask yourself how much better did they get? I I I thought me doing that was going to make me feel better. It did not. It did not. The Raptor team is not better. than most of the Eastern Conference. I probably darn near named like 7 Eastern Conference teams that the Raptors aren't better than, like at all. Raptors are not better than those teams. Damn, damn. As I'm like incredibly blurry right now. Let me just it's just live TV, you know. There I am. Yeah, this Raptors team is not better than most of the teams. They're really not. They're really not better than Indiana. Well, I think Indiana they're neck and neck. So when I say better, I think they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck with Indiana, neck and neck with Orlando, neck and neck with Chicago, better than Atlanta, um, better than Brooklyn. So I don't know. I guess we're right now the way the Raptors are looking, they're fighting for a play-in. You would really have to make some moves in the guard section to change my mind, or once again, a most improved like season from Gary Trent. I really think he's the X factor. I want to say it's Scotty Barnes because it's a great Scotty Barnes season, a 29-8 season from Scotty Barnes. Like I'm talking, these are Ben Simmons type. I think Scotty Barnes is a better scoring version of Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is probably a better passer, of course, because he can really play the point. But Barnes has the vision too. It's just people got to run with him. That's really it. What do those two guys need? Just quality scoring. So if we can somehow have outlandish, out of this world shooting from some of the bench guys, which what everyone's saying about their team. It's almost like a wait and see, but you gotta let everyone grow together. The bench guys and everyone else. So the Raptors also signed. Also, I kind of like Noel too. So I wouldn't be mad if Noel touched some starting units. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's kind of crazy. I like Noel though a lot. Now, the Raptors signed. I forgot his first name. Oh my gosh! But Freeman Liberty. Uh, he is on a two-way contract, so we have to wait and see. Probably a 905 guy. And then, of course, they re-signed Jeff Dowland, who, if he makes it to the roster, will have a significant pay increase. I'm pretty sure he's going to fight. The thing is, this when it comes to Jeff Dowland Jr., people really like him. Um, when I interviewed him and Matt, I know he's been a big fan of him. I think there's something I'm missing when it comes to him. I'm missing something. Don't know what it is, but I'm clearly missing it. So I guess I got to see what I'm missing. Honestly, I just got to see what I'm missing. But that's it for me. That's my Raptors Weekly podcast. I probably could have talked more about the Raptors because I just randomly talk about a bunch of random things. So I really want to focus on the fact that Gary is he's the one that could make or break this team. And ultimately, who are the Raptors better than right now? Not a lot. Not a lot in the Eastern Conference. Not a lot at all. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow the Twitter, the YouTube, the TikTok. I'll talk to you guys again. Peace.